what's up? Welcome back. Welcome to another video. Today, I went back and forth with what I wanted to talk about today, and I decided that I wanted to talk about a few of my favorite completed, finished, done with fantasy series. It's like a kind of like a bittersweet thing with series, because like sometimes I'm like, yes, I like a series because the first book was never enough. But then it's annoying because everything these days is a series and you gotta wait for the next book to come out. Nothing can ever be like a one and done. Everybody wants to have a series these days. So I figured I'd go through and talk about some of my favorite completed fantasy series that there are definitely a lot that are completed that I haven't read, and there are a lot that are completed that I have read that I didn't include, but I only picked a few. I had to go into storage and get some of my books so that I had like actual physical things to show y'all. Plus I missed some of my books and they so pretty and they look so good, and I went through a lot to get them, so I hope y'all appreciate all the hard work I went through. Now I'm gonna show y'all a few. I'm not gonna talk about all of them. I'm gonna give you the premise of like the first book and then just go from there, and you can decide if you want to read the whole series. Maybe you don't. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I liked. So let me get into the first series. The first series is the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. Caraval, Legendary, and Finale. What I will say is, even though I love the series as a whole, the rating went down as the series went on. So we got Caraval got a 5, Legendary got a 4.5, Finale got a 4. So this story is about two sisters, Scarlett and Donatella Dragna. Oh, my memory is great. Let's see, normally I gotta go pick up my phone and like look through Storygraph to try to remember what the names are, or look in the front of the book, and I didn't even have to, and I remembered the last names too. Look at me, I'm doing so good. So it's about Scarlett and Donatella Dragna. They are sisters, and Scarlett is dying to get away from their life with their father, who I believe is like a general, or he's like a really important man in town. And they know about the Caraval from their grandmother, I believe. And you have to have a ticket to Caraval, and I believe they got a ticket. I don't know where it came from. And the winner of Caraval always gets a wish, and you have to, it's this really, the way to describe it, it sounds like so much fun. But then once you get into the story and they actually get to Caraval, it's like, this is mad dangerous. Like, it's a lot of like shady people. No, you never know if anybody is like a real person or an actor that's part of Caraval. Like, it's crazy, it's wild. So we follow Scarlett, who is not only trying to win this wish within Caraval, but then her sister goes missing. Like, they end up washing up on shore on a boat, I believe, with some dude. I can't remember the guy's name, but like then she has to go looking for her sister. Like, basically the premise of Caraval is who can find Donatella first. It's like a hide and seek kind of thing. It's really weird, but it's really cool. And as the story goes on, there's another Caraval. We follow Donatella in the second book, which I thought was cool, that it switched perspectives from following Scarlett the whole time to following Donatella. And in the last book we go back and forth, and a lot of stuff happens. There's a lot of like background stuff going on in the last book. I went back and forth with whether I wanted to talk about this one or if I wanted to talk about Once Upon a Broken Heart, because I love that series. But I think that between the two, I like Caraval more. It is probably because it's the first series I read from Stephanie Garber, and her writing is just amazing. Great descriptive, vivid writing, like very immersive. So this was a really good series. I highly recommend this one. The next series is one y'all have heard me talk about before. This is the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. It is 4 books. I believe I gave all of these books a 5. I read these books before I was doing like book ratings and all that stuff. You can tell by like how old they are. Like, these are like each bought when they first came out years ago. One of my favorite things about these is the colors, like how they get darker and darker like throughout the series, because the story gets darker and darker. This story is about Mare, and in the world of the Red Queen there are red bloods and silver bloods, and the red bloods are like common folk, peasant kind of people, lowly people, and then the silvers are the people with like magic in their blood, and each family like has a different power. So like the Calors control fire, and there's a family that controls metal and all this other stuff. And it turns out that Mare, she ends up in the arena of a fight, I believe, with Silvers. And it turns out that she's a red that has powers, and her power is over lightning, which nobody has ever seen before. And she gets sucked into this world where she has to pretend to be a Silver and live with the royal family. And the brothers, Cal and Maven, are like kind of fawning over her, and she's not really into it. And the younger brother gets drunk with power and goes like, this is a wild series. Of my favorite book, hands down, out of all four, is King's Cage. King's Cage is such a good book. We find there she's like broken down and like just desperate, and all hope is lost for her. And Maven, the younger brother, is like gone crazy. Is like a monster. I don't want to spoil it too much if you do want to read these books, but this is the series that I said got me back into reading fantasy after reading so much like contemporary books and romance and just fiction for a really, really long time. And after like being in school where they make you read like classics and stuff that you don't really want to read, summer reading nonsense and crap, but this is just, it's just a really good series, which made my disappointment for her Realm Breaker series just so much worse, because this was so good and I had such high hopes for that new series. But anyway, this is definitely a good series. I'm gonna go look and see, but I think I gave all of these a 5, but I will double check really quick. Okay, so on my Storygraph it says Red Queen 5, Glass Sword 4, King's Cage 5, Warstorm 4. So it went 5, 4, 5, 4, which makes sense to me. Next series is one that I love so much, and that is the Imperium series by Claire Legrand. Furyborn, Kingsbane, and Lightbringer. This is a 3-book series. In this story we follow 2 characters, Riel in like the past, like way back in the past, and she's trying to protect her friend from an ambush. He's the prince. She's trying to protect the prince from an ambush and exposes herself as having all types of elemental magic. So back then they have elemental magic, but not everybody can control all of it, and she exposes herself as being able to control all of it. And in their realm, if you can control all of the elements, then you are prophesied to be either the Queen of Light or the Queen of Blood. So she has to go through all these trials to prove that she is the Sun Queen and not the Blood Queen. And years and years later, we follow Eliana, and like in her world, the tale of Riel is like a fairy tale. It's not real. It's like a myth. And her mother goes missing, and she ends up having to go searching for her mother with this like rebel captain. There's a rebellion. I don't remember the specifics of the rebellion exactly. I do remember though, like, that I adore these books. They were so good. I read this first one on my Kindle and immediately went out and bought the next 2. Like, I had to have all 3 of these books, and then I eventually got a physical copy of the first book. But it's just, as you read on, you see how Eliana and Riel, how their stories, or Riel, it might be Riel, I don't know, but you see how their stories intertwine in the end, and it's really cool. And the way the story ends is great. It has a really great, satisfying ending. There's one thing that's like a kind of like a side thing that I wish there had been some kind of novella or something to explain. I'm not going to say what, but I really wish there would have been a novella to explain one of the things that happened in the last book. But this series is really great. And another cool thing about these is you see how like the books are black, red, and white, and on the inside, so the dust cover is black, red, and white. On the inside, the actual books are, this one is red to match this one is white to match this one, and this one is black to match this one. So I thought the way they like color coordinated the books was really cool. When it comes to my books, I'm like super visual. Y'all know that. I always say that I look at book covers and usually buy books based on that and not based on what they're about, because I don't read summaries. But these were really great. I highly recommend the Imperium series. It's only 3 books, and it's a really great read. Next series is the Cursebreaker series by Bridget Kemmerer. I was sitting on these books for the longest time. I think I told y'all my first book that I ever like read for a review was Forging Silver in the Stars by Bridget Kemmerer. and I looked through her list of works and saw that she had this series that was, and I saw the first book was like, they're like, oh, this is based on Beauty and the Beast, and Beauty and the Beast is my favorite, like one of my favorite top 3 Disney movies. Bella's my favorite Disney princess because Hello Books. So it took me a while before I had these sitting on my shelf. Oh no, what happened? Oh no, I'm gonna need to get another copy of this. This is horrible. This happened in storage? These books were sitting on my shelf for a while before I finally read them. And I decided last year that for my birthday month, I was like, well, I'm going to read these. It's my birthday month. Happy birthday to me. I'm going to read these books. And I just devoured them. They're all annotated, all marked up with matching flags. And it's great. So Prince Ren is our beast. And he turns into a beast. I don't remember if it's nightly or during a full moon or whatever, something like that. And he's in this castle by himself. He's destroyed his castle completely, his family, his staff. He only has one guard left. And he constantly brings girls to him that he thinks will like maybe break the curse. And eventually they find Harper in Washington, D.C. And she comes and she does not like him at all. She runs off. And eventually she comes to like him, and it's just, the story ends up evolving into something entirely different. I have a video on my TikTok that like I talk about how I had already started this book, and I made a video about how the epilogue of this book basically broke my brain in a good way, because it was like, wait, huh? Like the biggest shock ever. The biggest shock. And I was just stuck for a long time before I started the second book. But I was like, I have to start it. I can't be stuck for too long. Gotta start the second book and see what's going on. Because why is she doing me like this? And why is she ending the books like this? Luckily, the series was already done. And I was able to just immediately pick up the next book and not have to wait after the way she broke me at the end of this book. So yeah, this series, I don't know if y'all could tell, I love this series. Each one of these books got 5 stars. It's great. A Curse So Dark and Lonely, A Heart So Fierce and Broken, A Vow So Bold and Deadly. They're just all really, really great. So please read them and report back. Next series is kind of a duology and then a prequel. And this is 6 Crimson Cranes series. Includes 6 Crimson Cranes, The Dragon's Promise, and Her Radiant Curse. Her Radiant Curse is the most recent book, which acts as a prequel to 6 Crimson Cranes. So in this story, we follow Shirayanma, and she is the only daughter of the Emperor and has 7 brothers, and she has forbidden magic. And her stepmother notices her forbidden magic on the day that Shiori is supposed to get married, and she ends up, her stepmother ends up turning her 7 brothers into cranes. And then she tells Shiori, you can't tell nobody about this. Like, I won't let you tell anybody. And she puts a bowl on her head so she can't be recognized, and the bowl does not come off. And then I think she can't talk, because if she says anything about it whatsoever, one of her brothers will die. Which is crazy. That is a crazy curse. You turn them boys into cranes first, and then you tell her that if she talks about it, the brothers are going to die. That's wild. So there's also a little paper bird that she has that she can speak to kind of like telepathically. And then there's a dragon that is involved in this somehow. I cannot 100% remember. The dragon is more prevalent in the second book. And one thing I do want to show you guys that I love about these books are the covers. If I can hold them all up. Let me see. Hold on. Okay. I'm holding them the best I can. Look how beautiful these covers are. They are just the best thing ever. Like, ever. And these are by Elizabeth Lim. And this prequel is about her stepmother. I think her name is Rekama. And is her name Rekama? Well, her name ends up becoming Rekama. But it's about the stepmother and how she ended up with the Emperor in the first place. So these books are really good. I believe I gave this one a 5 and this one a 4. Let me double check for you all. So you got a 5, a 5, and a 4 for this series, which is not bad. But these are really, really great as well. And they're not very long either. Not long books. Next, and yes, duologies count. This is the Blood Trials series by N.E. Davenport, The Blood Trials and The Blood Gift. This follows Ikenna, which I'm just going to start by saying Ikenna is in my top 3 female main characters ever. She's so like strong and independent and takes no crap from anybody. She's just a great character. Yes, some of the things that she does may seem a little questionable, but over here we love a morally great character. So Ikenna is the granddaughter of the Legatus commander who ends up getting murdered unalived in the beginning of the book, and she just knows that somebody within like the government did it. So she's been training her whole life with her grandfather. She also has a blood gift which is forbidden. So she enters these the trials. I think they're called the Praetorian trials, and only like a quarter of people survive these trials. They're very deadly, very scary, very dangerous. And not only does her blood gift make her vulnerable and a target, but her heritage and her race also makes her a target for a lot of hate and racism from the other people who are going through these trials, some of whom don't make it. And the one thing I do love about Ikenna is not only is she strong and no nonsense, but she has a soft spot for the people that she cares about, and you see that as she starts to make friends with people and find allies within the trials. So this story is really great. I wish it was more. That's the only thing I will say. I wish it was more than just the 2 books. But like I said, Blood Trials, Blood Gift, this got a 5, this got a 4.5. The only reason it's got a 4.5 is because of the ending, and I won't give that away. But that's not to say it was a bad book. These are both great books all around. Very well written. Love N.E. Davenport over here. She has a new book coming out soon, and I can't wait to read. So yeah, get your hands on the Blood Trials. You might have to order it because I did not see these in stores. I also had the art for this, so I got to read it before it came out, which was cool. That was fun. I think that was like my favorite arc I've ever gotten. Next is another duology. Again, duologies count as completed because it's completed. There's 2 books. It's duology, 2 books. This is Blood Like Magic by Lysel Sandberry. I've talked to you guys about these books before. Blood Like Magic and Blood Like Fate. Very beautiful covers. This is about Voya, and she is a witch, and she has to go through what is called a calling in order to get her powers, and she ends up failing, but she gets a second chance, which is unheard of. And you get a task that you have to complete to get your powers, and her task is to kill her first love, but she's never been in love, never had a boyfriend or anything like that. She goes on to like this online thing and matches with somebody, and he wants nothing to do with her at all. The way they do the matching, this is like fantasy sci-fi-ish, so it's like a lot of like weird, interesting, futuristic technology, including the online dating thing. And he doesn't want anything to do with her, but she's trying to force his hand. And they also tell her that if she doesn't complete her task, that her entire family will lose magic. So there's added pressure on her because of that. And but this story is just so good. I gave the first book a 5 and the second book a 4.5. I did this as a buddy read with Kay. I also did the Caraval series as a buddy read with Kay. So it's a lot more fun when you read through all an entire series with someone or with a group of people. But these were really good. I've talked to you guys about these before, so I'm not going to talk too much about them. But this is a great duology as well. And the last completed series I'm going to talk to you guys about is the Legacy of Orisha series. Y'all had to know this was coming, by Tomi Adeyemi. Children of Blood and Bone, Children of Virtue and Vengeance, and Children of Anguish and Anarchy. And regardless of how I felt about the last book, this series is so special to me. It was the first fantasy series I read by a black female author, so it was just very special. It's very important to me. Tomi Adeyemi is my favorite author, so I don't need to say too much. Y'all know how I feel about these books and about Tomi Adeyemi in general. I think both the first 2 books got a 5, the last one got a 4.5. For reasons I explained. If you don't know, go look at my July reading wrap up and you'll see what I mean, or you can go look at my review I wrote on Fable or Goodreads. It's in multiple places how I felt about this book. But it just follows, wow, I'm drawing a blank. That's horrible. It follows Zelly, and she's on a quest to bring magic back to the magic of her land, and then accidentally ends up bringing back magic to everybody, and there ensues a civil war worse than what was already going on, because now people on both sides have magic, so it just makes it that much more complicated. And then the story goes on. She meets more people, a bigger group of people. She becomes an elder. Then in the last book we see that she gets kidnapped and ends up in a new land with people with magic we have never heard of before, an enemy we never heard of before. And but it's still just such an important series in my life to me. And yeah, that's all I got to say about it. Y'all know how I feel about it. So yeah. Okay, so I believe that was 8 completed series that I have read, completed fantasy series. I hope you saw something that you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what your favorite completed fantasy series is, and maybe I'll go pick it up and try to finish it. But I'm running out of space on my camera, so thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notifications, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!